Right, Nils, Leonard, and various members from Uncommon, welcome to Behind the Billboard.
Thanks for having
welcome.
Welcome.
So,
Well, thanks for having us.
It's a bit of a thing, right? So we've got the first question we've got to get out there. How are you enjoying football?
I'm enjoying it a lot.
Yeah, okay.
My country's doing good.
Oh, what's your who's your team?
Austria.
Austria.
Austria's doing very well.
Brilliant.
Yeah.
I think that's
For
the money. I think the money's on Austria. Right, so we can do football another time, maybe in a pub later on afterwards. But so today is a special episode for us because we're in a place with people. I haven't got any headphones on, so I'm feeling really weird. And we're getting behind your groundbreaking a British original campaign for BA, which, as you know, and I think probably most listeners know, it comprises over 500 executions and won the highest accolade in the industry, the Cannes Grand Prix. So we're doing it from your lovely offices here in Clerkenwell Road. Very nice for having us. And I want to say thanks to Lex on air because she helped sort it out.
Oh, you smooth
Yeah,
bastard.
mate, you know me. So alongside Nils, obviously we've got some more key players. So we have Nick Stanley, creative. We have David Pomfret, who also comes by the name of Chips. We have, David is the managing partner, so people know. Ellie and Elisa, creative team. And Benny Everett, who is here, not here.
I'll text him.
He is here, but downstairs currently putting another deck together. Like he should be. Anyway, yeah, great.
So what we're going to do is look at this picture, right? So for the listeners at home to know, there's a picture of Nils on the Croisette, having a nice drink and a fag, and then just sort of slowly out of shot is a very shiny Grand Prix.
I don't smoke.
Right.
No one can see it. They won't believe you.
Wipe that. Oh, are you doing a little?
No, I do smoke.
Batman. Right. Anyway, so I think the main question is what's going through your mind here?
Well, in that moment, I don't really want to talk about it. I think I felt very sexy, judging by the way I'm looking at the camera. But no, it was amazing. It was insane. We just won. I know everyone's got a winning story and all the above, but we had no idea we were going to win. Genuinely no idea.
Right.
Hadn't paid
You
attention.
didn't get the heads up?
I got a head up the day before. I got a phone call from, bless him, from the president. Oh, here we go. That's all right. That'll work well on the podcast, Benny.
Benny Everett. Everybody, Benny Everett's coming around. Very good.
I got a phone call literally the day before, and it was the president, and bless him, and he said, "Oh, you've won." I thought it was a wind-up. I thought it was one of my Argentinian friends who'd called and was taking the piss. And I spent a good 10 minutes going, "Oh, fuck off." And he was like, "No, you really have."
Wow.
And so we rang everybody at
Were you
Record
there
School.
anyway? Were you
No, not at all.
in town?
No, literally I wasn't. I was due to go for a couple of days. I was due to go on Wednesday. But you know, that was Monday, I think. And so
Monday night.
we got the phone call. I just tried to get as many people out there as we possibly could. And
So British Airways came too.
I hope so.
Yeah.
Did they fly out? Yeah. No, sorry. Shit, Joe. I'll get me coat. And Nick Stanley, you took the photo of this. So were you with Nils all evening, or?
Yeah, well, until about 3.
Were you charged with looking after those trophies?
I didn't want to let it go for quite a while. I had it when we walked down the Croisette, and then Nils took it, and then he did something else with it.
So come on, tell us the story. We've heard a brief version of this on the previous episode.
no, it was quite exciting. And then we all went to a place, and I don't know why, but I thought the world was, ours. And so put it down somewhere and then forgot where I'd put it. And for about 3.5 hours probably. Went dancing and things and eating more cigarettes, and then looked up and went, where's the thing gone? Yeah. And then we spent a good hour freaking out about that, and then found it in a plant pot.
Seriously?
Yeah, and literally there's a photo of it in a plant.
And then
I got that.
British Airways car and took it.
Oh, yeah, that's right. They didn't trust us with it anymore. They didn't trust us with it
I'll
anymore.
look
Hamish
after
took
this.
It's good that you're still being, a true creative. You founded your own company, so yeah.
Well, no, I don't know. Maybe I thought I was hiding it. I think I thought I was keeping it safe. I don't know what was happening, but it was good. Mate, it was really good. It was.
Yeah, it's a pretty amazing
yeah.
thing. I mean, I've written it 4 years into launching your agency. So you've won the biggest award in the world from one of the biggest clients in the world.
Yeah, that was it.
That's pretty good.
That was
right?
it, man. That felt insane.
Yeah.
And it was weird. I don't know.
There it is.
Yeah, that.
Yeah.
I remember being back at a network, and forgive me for speaking candidly, but you spend your whole time in a network talking about winning awards and gearing it to win awards, and putting all these teams together to do what you just do. And I don't care what anybody says. That's what happens. And we don't do that. We just try and make really, really good work, especially on our biggest clients, and that was just insane. So it was good. It was like evidence that it was all right, I think.
Yeah. Yeah, you can sort of smell it on a lot of work, can't you? Going, you're just sort of doing this to get to a place rather than this campaign just feels so, well, it's just amazing. It's so honest and human, and we're going to talk about it all in a minute.
Just before we do, the Independent Agency of the Year one up there.
Oh yeah.
When was that one? Was that
Year before?
year before?
That was when we won lots for the 1 second suit and stuff like that for H&M.
So the sign of the times for the agency, that's a great accolade, and so it must have been, you're churning out this amazing work to win something like that, and then you go and win for your big client and you win the big award in outdoor is absolutely phenomenal.
Yeah, it was good. Thanks. It was good.
Really good.
Thank you.
How many did you fly out?
I don't know in the end. Like
4 of us.
1, 2, 3. Addition, yeah, four of us, and then Hamish as well flew out.
Brilliant.
I mean, and Callum as well invited, but he couldn't make it, so Hamish picked it up.
And we should put on record, it wasn't just a Grand Prix, there were several goals.
Oh yeah, Nick's at pains to point this out. Sorry, Nick, go for it, mate.
Don't do that to me.
You know which they were.
It also won some goals for copywriting, which was nice. I mean, the one that won a goal for copywriting was my favourite one, Mischief, Business Pleasure Mischief, which is kind of the...
And it's the
That's
one.
the
It's the one the British Airways have on their wall as well.
It's the one.
That one and the half-term one that came later.
Yeah.
I remember that.
No. Right. Yeah, writers definitely need to have their say. Right, so we're going to talk about the pitch process, what happened, and we think it didn't quite go as we thought it did.
When you start at the beginning, what's the pitch process like with them? How were you invited in? Was it a kind of open pitch? How did it work?
Yeah. So, I mean, it was a standard pitch. We don't pitch a lot, or we certainly don't tend to pitch cold a lot.
Right.
And when people do approach us like that, we try to make really clear that they know what we do and all the above, because you can pitch a lot and win a lot of stuff and try to win and then end up making a load of work you don't want to make. And we were paranoid because of their size that they'd approached us, not really looked at us and thought we were some sort of wild card. And being candid, we didn't want to waste our time. Right. And we were wondering if it was a cost-cutting exercise, and we were wondering if it was all that other stuff that happens.
Using you to benchmark against one of the big network agencies.
Yeah, or just give them a kick in the arse, And so we'd been there, we'd been on the other side, with WPP. So it was a bit like the upfront conversations were very candid and very lovely. And then we met the clients at that moment, and it was like, oh, okay, it's not that at all. And they were genuinely really ambitious about it. They were real, they were very honest and candid in the room, and they were like, we just want better work. And I remember the only conversation it reminded me of when you get to doubt yourself in these moments was B&Q, which was another client people had said, oh, you can never win that unless you're a network. And then I remember meeting Paddy, and Paddy going, I don't give a shit about all that. I want great work, I want great partners, and I want people who are going to care about our business. And this was very similar. And so we were like, right, okay, let's take them at their word and go and give it a pop.
Wow.
So it was a brilliant, to be fair to them, it was a process like many others, but they came in, they knew our work, they knew what we'd done, and they were very honest and very straight about it. So.
And when you're going through that process on pitch against a big network agency, up against a WPP agency, does it feel like that? Do you think about who you're up against when you're in pitch mode, or do you just think about you guys and the work that you do and the client?
We really try not to. I mean that sincerely. We just pitch the way we pitch. We talk about pitching to lose, and by that we mean we're going to make the type of work we want to make for this client regardless. And if that means we lose it, that's probably a good thing, because they're not going to make the type of work we want to make anyway. So we don't do that at all. I mean, did I get a little tinge at midnight, the idea of being WPP? Yeah, of course.
Yeah.
Okay, I'll say that.
But I suppose you need to be yourself, don't you?
Well, you have to. What I've learned is when you pitch like somebody else and you win, they want you to make somebody else's work.
Yeah.
So at that point, you're already making work you don't want to make. So we were like, well, we just learned that lesson early doors. Pitch like us, and if we lose, then we lose for the right reasons.
Yeah, I think that's good. I think we talked about that briefly on a previous episode as well, is that clients are coming to you because of the great work you've done. They can see that you think differently, that you perform differently, and they should expect to see that in their pitch results, I guess, as well. How quickly during the pitch process did you get to the British original idea?
Pretty quick, to be honest. The biggest thing to say on the pitch was when we started taking it, when we were like, okay, we're going to do it, we got really obsessed with the idea of it's the flag carrier of our country and Britain. And so we were like, we're pitching British Airways, but really we're pitching Britain and what it means to be British and what it means in the world to be seen from the outside as being British today. And we were like, well, what have we got? What does it mean to be British to the rest of the world? No, it's true though, right?
Yeah.
And so Luce, my strategic partner, Lucy Jameson, and I and a core bunch got very quickly to this idea of British Original. And it was like, that's a great idea. It stands for British creativity. It stands for the uniqueness of the crew. It stands for the history of the airline. It stands for all that other stuff. But also, if you're sat as a studio or agency with British Original as a brief, it's pretty good.
Yeah, because it's both broad but tight, isn't it?
Yeah.
Because you can you can jump off all ways from it, but it's still got that nice, that thing you look at it, you go, oh yeah, that fits.
That's it. And the biggest thing, honestly, which I've got a menu in my bag, which sounds sad, but like when we pitched it, we didn't pitch it as an advertising idea. So we pitched it as a brand idea. So we were like, well, how can it inform entertainment? How can it inform the menu? How can it inform the crew? How can it inform hiring? So some of the bits I'm proudest of, you sit on the seat now and it's like a British Original is a section of movies.
Yeah.
And the British Original menu is something they have.
And the safety video?
Yeah, all that. And we've got another one about to drop now. So, all of that stuff is
you can see how deep it penetrates the brand.
And did that come from, I know we don't have any strategic people in the room, but was it a combination of planners and creatives coming, when you got to that? Had you briefed the creative department by this point, or were you keeping it tighter, higher up level before you briefed people? How?
No, we don't really do that.
No.
So we're quite, I ask these guys, but we tend to be very fast to an idea or an area. We tend to be pretty quick going, I would just want to play here. And Luce is very good in that sense, and our strategy department are very good in that sense at just being on the road. We don't do this weird 4-week strategic process and then hand it over like the Pope to the creatives. So Lucy was in this space of owning British creativity or owning whatever, and I can't remember, I think it might have been Sam Walker, weirdly, who got to it, but someone got to that line. And we were like, that's fucking great if they buy it. We just knew everything could come off it. And so we had a variety of bits of work underneath it in the pitch, but we knew that on its own was great. And there was this one chart, I remember, which is in quarters, and it just described everything from, the truth of this country and all the people that it's birthed, the originals it's birthed, right through to the crew, through to the airline, through to whatever, and we were just like, that's just true. Whether you like it or not is up to them, but it was definitely true.
So then what did you, because someone said before we started that I was thinking, and then, it never works like this, but it always looks like it on the outside. You go, British Original, and then you got the tick box device, and then you went in and you blew them away and you won the account. Right? So, Nick's already laughing at me there. How did it transcribe after that? And by the way, feel very free to not tell us everything, but if you don't want to tell us everything, but what you can say about the process and how, because I'm fascinated, you go, okay, British Original, brilliant, still needs to sort of, what's it look like?
Executionally, what does it look like?
How did you
So
go
if I do the end of the pitch, and then we'll be honest, and then you can tell me if I say something chips that will get my head chopped off.
He's making notes.
Yeah, I know. Time code.
If you hear a scribble on the podcast, it's him making notes. Don't say that. Yeah.
So no, it was amazing, and to win the pitch, by the way, was an incredible moment, and we really had to pinch ourselves, and that was like, okay, that was a reminder again. I think that the world has changed. That a great creative company, can win it now without needing to be a big dirty network and all that other stuff, and hopefully the work's been proof of that. That said, we won it, and we were expecting to onboard for quite a while. So it was big, and there was some stuff we had to get lined up, and we sort of discussed it all. And then the reality was that everybody wanted to be in market much earlier than we'd anticipated.
Right.
So at that point, which is, I guess, kind of new news, it wasn't like there was this completely blank canvas and we were like, oh, that's great. It was like, right, we need to be in market. We want to be in market, can we? And we're like, all our blood's up. So we're like, absolutely. And then we looked at the realities and we went, well, we can be, but we can't do a big drawn out shoot. We can't do loads of other stuff. It was like, and we call it reverse parking, which is start with the realities of the job, not the fantasy, and then work back from that to make the best you can of it. And so we looked at it and went, look, ambition's still here, scale's still here, all the above, but we have to do something that doesn't rely on a lengthy shoot, doesn't rely on a process that's going to kill us. And so we said, okay, what are we going to do? And then we put the brief back in.
And that brief went into the creative department to answer.
Yeah, and we said, look, we've got this idea of British originality. We want to be out in market. We want to reflect that, but we want BA to have that scale. It's our first work, by the way. So no mean feat. We were, shitting ourselves. Yeah. Imagine our first work for BA's crap. Like, that's not it.
It's a big moment.
Yeah, that was it. And then we put a brief in, and he stumbled into the room. I think Nick, I'm looking at, I think there was a load of great work, but Nick walked in, I think, with something that he described as, I think he threw it away. I think he said, this might be a bit like a meme.
It was the last slide in the deck. I just sort of
really?
I thought this might be like a little social thing that they could do on the side, because there was loads of amazing telly, there was just the incredible ads. It just felt a bit small, right? And especially the way I'd mocked it up, literally just 3 words. I mean, I'm a writer, not an art director. It looked awful on the screen. And I was like, might look like a meme, Nils. And he goes, no, you're an idiot. It's much more than that.
Well, it was annoying, wasn't it? It's really good.
Yeah.
So we saw it and we were like, oh, that's fair.
Did you see it as a poster straight away?
Yeah, because he just did it. And also it was, I don't know, but, these guys will tell you as well, like, it just didn't look like a poster in a really good way. It was like completely white with 3 dodgy things on the left.
You still got it?
Yeah, I reckon.
Oh,
Yeah,
you
that's
must
what we
be.
got to get that.
Yeah, I'll find that. I can definitely find that.
And what was the copy on the first one then?
That.
It was that.
Mischief, yeah.
And oh my God, so it must have been quite an exciting moment.
Yeah, it was nuts.
Well, he's quite good at not laying it on. So you say, yeah, it's all right, just write me 100. And when credit directors, they always say that. You did.
Did I say that?
Exact words.
Yeah, and they always say write you 100, and it never happens. And then we actually did write about 500 of these. I don't know if I've ever told you where it actually came from, though. Have you seen Supersonic, the Oasis documentary?
Yeah.
There's a bit it's really early on, it's about 20 minutes in. Liam Gallagher, it's the first time he's ever been abroad. He's going through customs in the US. And they ask him, what is the purpose of your visit? And he just doesn't know that this is a question because he's never been abroad before. So he goes, what visit? I'm not visiting, mate. I'm a rock star. I'm here to steal your soul. And I was like, so it was just rattling around in my head. And yeah, I don't know how I got to that. From that to this.
Well, it's great. Because so I'm going to jump around a little bit, but the thing that I love about it, more than so many things I love about it, but the guy says no plane. There's no, because I'm giving you a hot towel with some tongs. There's no graphic of a plane flying out of a globe, and those things. Yeah. Because we know what planes look like. We know what food's like. This opened my brain and went, right, yeah. Why do we fly? And then I did read a quote from Lucy, which I now can't remember, but it was something about just open people's fucking minds to what it is. Yeah, you get on a plane, but it's like the Windows stuff. You're looking out, going, right, where am I going?
But it was always people, not planes, wasn't it? That was a line throughout the pitch.
People, not planes.
People, not planes. I don't know if that was from them or.
It's also got the context that this was coming out of COVID.
Yeah.
A lot of people hadn't been travelling for a while. The airlines were coming. British Airways were coming through a period of time where people had forgotten what it was to travel. So this was also playing right into a moment of. What are all the reasons we travel? Each and every one of us, and I think
the things we were feeling in this room.
A feeling that everyone had of Nils was missing what Nils does. Ellie was missing what we do. But we all have different reasons why we travel. And it really tapped into that wherever you experienced it, you had your own relationship with that experience. And I think yes, the creative unlock, but the 500 was the other build.
Well, that's worth talking about. So we often stitch ourselves up. There's some previous work we've made where we like a sort of data point or a story within the production. So we did a thing previously with Collusion where we decided to document 100, and we were messing when we were chatting. And we said, wouldn't it be brilliant just to up the scale? Because my fear was we'd make 3.
Yeah.
And I'd be like, oh, cool. And we were like, well, how many should we make? And we said, well, the idea is an original. What if everyone was an original? So we were like, let's absolutely do that. And then we went and saw MG. The media guys, and they were like, shut up. And we were like, no, wouldn't that be good? And they were like, all right, right back at you. Well, there's 512 insertions. And so we were like, oh, okay.
So going back to because we're in this pitch section, if we talk about how this idea gets in front of the client as part of the pitch, was this in the pitch? No, not in the pitch. Won it, and then you're like, okay,
so
fine,
British Original was in the pitch.
Wow.
Lots of other bits and ideas and brilliant stuff, some of which has stuck, most hasn't. And then we were like, right, when we get real...
So this is the first bit of reverse parking. This is like, we've only got X many months to get this done. How are we going to do it?
That's it.
And how many... Well, you needed 512.
12, I think, in the end.
How are you... Yeah.
More now, for sure.
No, but even at the time, a bit more.
Oh, okay, yeah.
Yeah, it's quite mind-blowing. But did you then open it? So Nick had started the process and you challenged him to do some more.
Go on, do you go on to
Yeah, he goes right 100, and you do. But there's also, because we were talking about, this was all about everyone travelling again, right? And I can't write for everyone. Definitely can't write for everyone. Thanks, Chips. And so I'd sort of written all the ones I could from my point of view, and so it got opened up to literally everyone.
All departments as well.
All departments.
We had a Google Doc. So welcome to technology, man, which mostly we moan about, but there was a Google Doc and everyone was piling in, and the weird bit about it was, people had their names on them.
I was going to say, could you be anonymous?
Well, maybe we should have said that.
Did you get in there, Nick? Did you get?
Do you know what, man? I don't think I wrote a single one. I actually don't think I did.
Sorry.
No, but there were a few which were like therapy. So you could see like updated, 2:05 a.m. Ellie Stitcher, dancing naked with a Mexican man, or something like that. Like absolutely brilliant. Shout out to Ellie Stitcher, by the way.
That's brilliant.
Yeah, I mean, some of them were amazing, and they were like therapy, and some were genius. And you had lots of similarities when they came, and. Let me just tell you more recently. So we carried. I've got to tell you this. We carried this thing on, and we had a recent competition. And we asked a bunch of people in a certain location, look, do you guys want to write some? And they were like, oh, great. And then we did a load, and they all had their name on the back. And one came back, it was like business, leisure, affairs. And we were like, are you sure you want your name on that? Like, oh dear. Anyway.
Because I can imagine it seems quite easy, but then when you look at them and you just go, no, it hasn't got the magic. That kind of, that human...
What I've always loved is the emotion changes. Like something you laugh, and then there's a beautifully poignant one every so often where you're like, that melt your heart. I think where you can bounce from emotion to emotion, when you look at a plane of 330 people, every one of them is flying for a different emotional region. Some of them are chasing an affair, some of them are going for their last visit to see their partner. And I think being able to flex emotion again and again and again through 330 seats where many people are flying.
And also still
that's
have
what's so clever, so beautiful, do you know what I mean?
And still have some nod to a reason to travel, because you can quite often get caught up in the moment versus it's a reason to travel.
It's so good. What it does, it in an instant, it strips away all those other things that people wang on about. Oh, you got to have this, you got to have that, and you go, no, that's it, because I know what the plane looks like, and know all those other things. And then you look at that and just go. I mean, when I loved it, obviously, but when I saw sort of things like this, I nearly burst into tears, because it just really.
Yeah, it's my favourite.
Just made me feel so. I'm looking at one called Remission, and there's ones about marriages and really fucking hard stuff. Which, like you said, Nick, certain people will write at certain ages or stages in their lives, and other people will want to talk about an olive the size of my hand.
That's exactly right. And also, certain people will get hit by them. So what we saw was when people talked about it, even the jury at Cannes, I went for a drink with a couple of them, and they were all talking about different ones. They were like, "It's all about that one," and I was like, "Wow, is it? Okay." And it was for them. So,
but in a way, sorry, that's one of the things that I suppose out of the cloud comes, a silver lining, isn't it? Because there wasn't enough time. You needed to get in, and then you suddenly found this brilliant vehicle, and actually probably made it way better.
Dude, I think we've got form, partly luck, but we've got real form in just taking what is usually shit news and turning it into like the advantage. Right. Because you would never have. If the canvas were blank and you could have shot, of course we should have imagery to travel. And of course we should have, a mega film. And of course we should have, I don't know. Looking back, it's easy to say that, but
because the restrictions were there on the time frame that you had to get to market.
Yeah, and I think we've got, I don't know, I'm looking at Benny here and Ellie, Elisa in particular, we've got near misses on many, many bits of work that most people go, those are great. And I look back and think, Jesus Christ, they knew.
Well, I think with this, if we'd gone and shot a plane, I think if you're going to claim to be a British original, you also need to come out with such a iconic piece of work. Putting a plane on it will lower that down, I think. And so coming out with this, there's no other brand in the world that could probably do that and have that weight of importance. And that's why if you're putting yourself as one of the icons next to Paul Smith, next to these important things that exist within Britain and a creative powerhouse, I think coming out with something like this really makes you stand
It's
out.
like when Honda write The Power of Dreams, and you go, right, you better fucking do something that's like The Power of Dreams. Remember before, everyone's going, that's a shit line. And then they started doing ads like Grew and go, right.
Okay. But it's also done a really nice job of British Airways, and we talk about quite a lot of them. The new work window's been a good example. It's given them a confidence, it's not just about the logo. There's a way British Airways now turn up, which is confident, premium, intelligent wit to a certain degree that people are really beginning to relate to. That's kind of across the work, which has also been nice versus logo, plane, travel shop. There's now a kind of a different behaviour, which I think this started and is testament to it.
Was it really easy to sell this idea in once you got there to the client? Did they buy it straight away?
It was easy. Yes, to their credit, yes, they got it instantly. Was it easy to explain to the whole organisation we were going to run some of these literally in the proportions you look at them like they are? It was one of those ones where I think everyone thought a little bit, but there'll be a beach at some point somewhere, or there'll be a thing somewhere. Maybe, and I think they thought, but actually we were borderline fascist on the grid. It was like the size of it we were fastidious over, the amount of white space we were cruel with, frankly, on some of the media. And that was what really made it. I think that's what made
because
it.
the white space urges you to think, because there's nothing else that's going to cloud your brain. It's like, there you go.
And the pitching of the idea, we've spoken before, when you're pitching outdoor work, you mock it up on posters like we're looking at today.
Yeah, sometimes.
Was it an outdoor first idea? This was pitched as a poster campaign. And then I assume it was then translated to other media as well.
We did some other stuff, but I mean, it was primarily this. And I think no, not the first meeting, but the second meeting we went in with MG and we said, look, the first meeting we were like, do you like it? And they were like, yeah. And we said, look, the ambition should be to make as many as we can that are original. And the second meeting we went in and the guys at MG had done some brilliant work already, understood it and went, right, here's how we're going to do it. And they were like, are you guys serious? And we were like, bang, 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 bang. And so it was,
Did you have a thing?
Can I just say as well, I know everyone bigs up their clients, I'm sure they do, but there's not many clients that would A, buy work, I think, as challenging as this, but B, then commit to the endeavour of a media plan like that.
Yeah.
Okay, all our lists are long enough already. It's really important to say that they understood it and then got behind it. They had to copy check every one, man.
Yeah.
So it's not like work. It's not like they sign it off and we do it all.
Yeah.
They're there doing everything we're doing.
The process of signing just over 500 was gigantic.
Yeah.
Huge credit to the team.
But it's like,
You
said, Benny,
the studio, basically.
It was crazy,
The whole walls were just covered in it.
it's just so exciting though to be involved in a piece of work like that, because you're kind of breaking through new barriers and you're going, wow, this is. I always think it's probably hard work, but it's also pretty exciting being associated with something like that. Isn't it?
So for MG, they have Talon, who are the outdoor media planning and buying team. So for them, that's all of that's outdoor, and then for the unique sites as well, it becomes more of a headache with the creative solutions, the special builds, and the.
And it's gone on. It's not. Even, I mean, this is now we're 3 campaigns maybe deep on this now, maybe more.
No, it's huge credit, and I think a good example of MGMD and us working really hand in hand, because 500 get out of here, but they actually really embraced it. Here's a whole load of audience groups. We sat down, worked through all the different locations. Where's the best one? I've had my fill of Leather Lane Market, Farringdon, where you're mapping that across the country, predominantly South East. And they deserve a lot of credit, and Alice Barnes and team here. There's 500 independent approvals.
How did you if you approved 500, you must have written 1,000 or more.
Yeah, easily.
So how, obviously you're the boss, right? Oh. You choose. Or how did you do it? How did you delegate it?
We had a crew, there was a whole crew of people writing and working on it. Krista Keating, Tom Hauser. Should mention those guys who were absolutely all over this. And there were a lot of people on it. We took the hands off of, it wasn't like, I think in people's heads there's this desk with a creative director still where they put yes or no on things.
Like the Economist stuff that we've spoken about.
Okay, right. It wasn't like that. It was like the good ones just rise to the top and you hear the noise that people make and they all get hit by them. But there were no passengers. I don't think there were any passengers. There was no shit. It wasn't like, let's just fill up those 10 with some guff. The hardest thing was repetition.
Right.
It was like, well, that one's kind of the same as that one. That happened a lot.
Right, so you had to then just choose the one which was
and we had
to
find different, so is it geography that you react to? So Glasgow in Feb. Is it occasion? Is it time? Is it life?
Yeah, there was the 457 one.
Yeah, I'll get the
some of the contextual ones really stand out. For me, that's the power of out of home, and that the warm gust of wind that don't come from tube trains.
Yeah, because you could
contextually in environment. That's the.
That was also our desperation, though, to write new ones. So right back at you, like.
Oh, we've got another environment. Oh no, we've got to do it in a taxi. We've got to do it.
That process works really well both ways as well. Instead, it's about moments in time or positions that we can then write to.
Right.
Because 1064 is the
1064 slide deck.
Wow. But that's another way in, isn't it? You go on emotion, you go on weather, you go on. So
so we can write a load of subject areas to write to, but then there's also we've got something on the top of the Shard, or we've got a particular train station which comes back from media, which then these guys can write to.
Okay, so then you get
both ways.
Yeah, that's exciting.
Which is where I think everyone kind of got on board, and there was a lot of people.
That was the unlock, was finding new reasons and ways to things to answer.
Do you, we're not going to go for every single execution, obviously, but we've picked out a load. So all we wanted to just ask you briefly, and this is slightly, I don't know, is there anything in any of these where there is a funny story, or, so I can just flick through them, but the stag do one, was that, that was very funny, it was quite early.
I think more.
They're all
like a game about
they're all
10
grinning at
reasons,
each other
10
just so
people.
everyone knows.
Yeah,
So
go on,
there is a story
I
here.
reckon that's Max Lubrinsky.
Brittany, yeah. I had Ross Keane in my head. I mean, there are just, yeah.
I think the impetus for some of them probably are stories.
Yeah, I was just wondering if there's any stories about how they came up, or then did two teams write them together, or did someone come back from a weekend away and say, "Oh, my sand in the shoes," that kind of thing, or like these things which are very like to consummate the divorce. Those are a bit more heavy, but they're they're also quite kind of funny in a dark way. The remission thing, is there any stories about any of these that you feel worth mentioning? This fake tan stinks.
I think they were just personal. I don't know.
I think it's more just a varied group of people that wrote them.
Okay.
I honestly would just say that they're written personally. When we briefed everyone, we realised, I tell you what we realised is we could take the gloves off writing them. So we weren't writing them like professionals writing adverts. We were trying to write the first line of a great book, right? And we were like, how personally can it hit? In how many words can you reduce it to? Yeah. That's the gag.
I think it goes back to what you said. Is about you stand up on a plane, 300 people sitting there, and 300 different reasons for travelling. And obviously not on the second week of a flight from London to Nice, everyone's there for going to Cannes. But if it's random, go pick a plane out of the airport.
Yeah, that's brilliant.
Oh yeah, I'm going on a business trip. I'm going to see my mum. I'm going to see.
But to Chips's point, there was still at that point a hangover from COVID and from being away, because this year's been a lot to get the fuck back out there. There was there was a massive, and we wrote this in loads of our other work. We Will Grow Again for B&Q was the same. It was that wasn't really about plants. That was about humans. So
I love the fact that you can do that because this year's been a lot, which is just a massive statement too. I'm done with £7 pints. It's just there's so few campaigns. I remember when we spoke. I think it was like the first time we spoke, and you said you wanted to set up an agency which could have a point of view on culture and be involved in the culture, and I love that. And this makes me think of that. This account, this client can feel engaged with the world, not some sort of distant brand. You know what I mean? I think it's
also if you've got British in the name, I feel like this about ITV. They're one of our only truths. Amazon and Apple aren't going to paint a picture of the UK like ITV are. And if you've got British in the name, you have to play that back. Yeah, have to.
We and it's the good. It's the good. Right. So we've looked at the bespoke executions. We've rattled quite nicely through that. I mean, another one, the weather sucks.
I do like this weather sucks one.
Hater.
Yeah. Oh yeah, that's right.
Yeah. But again, also on this, so the weather sucks. You go, we could have just done it straight. You know what I mean? But then how far were you sort of thinking of pushing it visually? Did you get to a point going, oh, that's just the sweet spot?
Well, you nailed that. We held it down a bit visually until the second burst.
Right.
So there were a couple, I can't remember which, in the first burst that were art directionally twisted, but
Australian upside down.
Oh yeah, that was good. Yeah, there were a few like that, but visually we took the gloves off. I think in the next burst.
Yeah.
I think it's so beautiful with that. But once the public know your technique, playing with them and sort of slightly flirting with them through your art direction, it's just fun. That's what we're here for.
Take them on the journey with you.
Yeah, exactly. Like they should feel like this. If you're doing a campaign from British Airways for Britain, the relationship needs to work both ways. Like it has to be, we make them smile. And then when you go on planes, they make you smile back. Like I think it needs to be like a symbiotic.
Has anybody sent any in to you?
No.
Did you get mine?
Oh shit!
Yeah, I did put my name on the back.
We probably ran it.
But that thing. I remember when I was at BBH and we had 1-to-1, and people. It was so sad because people were writing in. It was a brilliant campaign, and then they killed it just as everyone was going. It became part of the national parlance. Have you had people?
Yeah, loads. Yeah.
And do they come to Uncommon? How do they get sent in? And do they get sent to British?
Uncommon.
Oh, really?
We get some weird stuff, man.
Oh, I love it.
Weird stuff.
I love stuff.
But also meme culture.
I was going to say, the nice thing about it is the first thing I said about it was it looks like a meme, and then people started writing their own and it became one.
Yeah, but surely
nice.
That thing when they go, what's the account man ad? And you go, well, if an account, it's always that thing. You go, if the public are thinking of them and writing them in, you've got, it's like gold, isn't it? It's not like, we're struggling for a third, it's just I love that. In fact,
I think there were a few that we wish we could have written that we couldn't, about people in the public sphere.
This Thursday?
Politics.
Yeah. I mean, because there was some of those were immediate, and you were like,
Boris Johnson, why are you travelling to India again?
We should, it's just so nice talking about this bit, but I think should we keep going? We've done quite a lot of the other bits, haven't we? Production and media.
Yeah, we've talked about the production side quite a bit.
Should we talk about the clients? Because without great clients, you don't get great work. So, this was a moment, Dan and I know obviously very little about the clients, but, obviously they've been brilliant for you, right?
Yeah, I would say that the team of clients we've been involved with, Callum Lamming, Hamish McVeigh and Catherine Marriott, in particular, have been amazing. All of those guys instantly got it, to be candid. I'd love to, I don't know from the outside, I'm not sure what people know or think about Uncommon, but a lot of people I think, I don't know, we have it easy going or something, and that's definitely not true. But what I would say of our BA partners is they really do understand good work. They understand immediately what feels true to them. Yeah. That's all I can ask for, is them to look you in the eye and go, no, that is us. That feels like us. And I think the guys really got it instantly. And they also, like I said, they shared the ambition. So, that's not like work. If you're talking about someone like Callum who manages an entire airline, and you're saying to him, by the way, I'd like to add to that list with 512 more things that you have to see and approve. That's probably not the most popular conversation to have. It goes a long way.
Especially not for your first gig with them.
No, right. I know. Hi. Not met us before. But it goes a long way, and it goes a long way both sides, right? At that point, you start to build real partnership. That's when we'd crawl over broken glass for those guys, because they see the ambition, they see the work, and they back it. So, massive props to them. And that's not,
they have done great work. I was thinking about the history. They have done great work, the look up at the plane thing, which was just amazing. And they've had bits and bobs. You go, oh, that was great. And then there was the BA, the Flying Manhattan to England, wasn't it? And the old Saatchi campaign. But it didn't feel like there's a consistency. Whereas this feels like it feels
like a new language for them. Yeah. And I think that's what's fresh about it.
I think they've got a new energy. I think they've had a lot of trust and faith put in them, but also a lot of pressure on their side, and they know it needs to work. And I think they've hopefully found partners that feel the same way. There's no, we talk a lot about no passengers, which is we're not going to do a single bit of work that we think is like a passenger that's just whatever. We're never going to do that. That means it's harder work on both sides, but it's worth it.
And did the success of the first iteration of the campaign breed the second part with the art direction change?
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
And what was that? Was that from Uncommon, or was that from BA, or a bit of both? Did you all agree, should we push it a bit?
I think what's next was the question, and it's kind of a question we're living with now, and then we responded with, we're going to get into more contextual, more art direction, very simply, and kind of take it to a different place.
We just felt like, I don't know, it's not many times you get to an idea like that.
Yeah.
You don't, how many times in your career do you get to love it or hate it, or on a real one? Like, I can, never mind Uncommon, I can't think of many in my career. So we got to something that was a format, and
And how did you structure that in the department again? Was it another open doc, or was it kind of just,
That was a few people taking it away. Richard Biggs.
Yeah,
a lot of that.
Australian
Squad.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Lauren Duncan.
Yeah. There was a lot. To be fair, it was almost the whole studio. It was there was.
But it's also one of those briefs that everyone, we just launched in Manhattan a couple of months ago as part of. And everyone in the US office got involved because it was like, hang on, this is our turn. You know what I mean?
Right.
It does feel like an Economist moment. It does feel like it's a.
It was,
I think this studio is built on people who want to get stuff out the door. So as soon as this brief sort of rears its head, suddenly 3, 4, 5, 10 creatives want to jump.
And also, Benny, is a place that gives you the opportunity.
Yeah.
This was the first work I did as a creative.
Wow.
This was my first work, and I was given the opportunity to be in the pitch and then to write this work.
Cool.
You get.
That's good.
That's why I dress as like
That'll go well on the podcast. But you get those opportunities here, and Uncommon speaks a really good game, but it's true.
Yeah.
And we live it internally, and it is a really, really flat hierarchy. There sort of is no hierarchy, really.
It feels like that. It feels like I always feel the fun in the work. I always feel like it's just great. It's like it's fucking brilliant. Not like a slog or oh God, compromise, put this little dab of shit in and none of that.
Dab of shit.
No, when I was at Saatchi's, Ajab Singh said 3 dabs of shit and you're out. And it was like bigger logo, changed headline, something that said you're out.
But it was also nice because I joined after we won it a couple of years ago. And And also, like, at the time when BA1 Uncommon was famous for lots of work, but had they done it on something huge and big? And I think there was a lot of questions, particularly I was on the outside at this point of, can they do the same thing with a big thing like British Airways? And I think the fact that our biggest, now I can be biased, but our biggest client, we're doing the work that we're doing and winning accolades, I think is also great signal for the rest of the clients building. If we can do this in British Airways, then what can we do else?
And the rest of agency land is going, oh, they can do it for the big clients.
Well, that's I think quite important, because I think there was a question: can they do it on the big client? Yes. And then now, what else can we do? And I kind of love that constant challenge as well.
I think the beauty of getting BA means that we probably got the EA rebrands, like those. Like one goes to the next, like works like a ladder of like opening doors, basically. And that's
But
what I
like,
love about the scale of all of this.
But like Nils said also though, it's so massively important to your first work on BA to be about what you want to make. So then, because otherwise, like you say, if you don't, then...
Do you know what it makes me think of, man? It's the very first thing we made was massively important. And then the very first thing we made for, the WWF was massively important. And then the very first thing we made for ITV, like, I think we just are terrified of wasting a chance.
Yeah.
I honestly
really
do. I really do. Like, I look at all of it and I just go, BA. Tor Mirren, who I used to work with, used to run Grey New York. He's now CMO of Apple. And he used to say to me, if you make your best work on biggest clients, your place is good. Yeah. He said, anyone can make sounds awful, but anyone can make a great charity thing, go win a load of awards or a bit of scam. But he was like, if you can do it on your biggest clients and it's legit, he said, you're sorted.
Yeah.
And I was like, that's basically it.
I was on the outdoor jury a few years ago, and there was one guy who came from Publicis at the time, now Accenture Song, and he said that in the jury room on day one. He was like, okay, look, we're all here for the same reason. We want to promote the best work. We've all got clients. We've all got people who we want to do our best work for. We need to spot that stuff early. That's the charity client. That's the scam art. It's stuff that's in here, awards fodder. But when we've got those big clients, and we see great work. We need to champion that, because that's what our industry is built on.
But do you know, and outside of awards, the stuff that's made this studio, to Benny's point, someone always knocks on the door. The first question we ask is, why are you here? And all of that work's the work that travels. They go, I want a B&Q Builder Life, or I want an EAFC rebrand, or I want a BA Windows. That's what they say. And you go, okay, we're on a level then. I know already that you want some half-decent stuff that's going to behave a certain way.
And you've always got that to go back to when you go to them with work. You say, well, you're here for a reason, right?
That's exactly right.
And also that as a creative, that would attract me. I think, they do it on the really big stuff. So you always then, it feeds itself, doesn't it? So you go, we're going to get all the talent. Because it's not going to, some places you look at it and go, yeah, it's good on that, but then you sort of undo this bit and you go, oh my God.
That's what Toby always says, though. Toby, strategist. He goes, the only way, because everyone's busy here, right? Everyone's running around the whole time. The only way you can get everyone's attention is go, by the way, guys, the work's not good enough yet. And then suddenly, everyone wakes up and goes, oh my God, and piles in. Nils is busy, Benny's busy, Chips is busy. Sometimes you don't get everyone's attention. As soon as someone says that, bang, it's the only way you can do it here.
That's good. Yeah, because the standard's always high.
Yeah.
And I also think that allows us to do work that feels totally different. Like, there is no house style. Like, you can't, whatever piece of work goes out of Uncommon, next time, you've no idea what it's going to be. Like, I've worked at a few other places, and it felt like we were repeating a system or a model or a tone again and again and again, just changing the client and fell into it. But what I love, like, every time you sit in an agency or a studio meeting here, you look at what's being presented, and there's 5, 10, 15 pieces of work that feel so entirely different. And that is amazing, having a group of people who can do that and keep consistently sort of shape-shifting the work every time.
Yeah.
Let's take it back to the just to your reverse parking analogy. So the first body of work's out of the way. The second iteration of the campaign is underway. Do you go back to what you originally pitched and start thinking about, right, we do now have the time for the next iteration of the campaign, we can do a shoot, we have got all the other things that we can go to, and where do you take it, and what was that part?
I'm going to hand over to Benny and Ellie, Elisa, but before I do, I think, remember that the work stream here is a British original, which isn't just the campaigns, it's like all of it. So we were doing a safety video, in fact, 2 safety videos. We were doing a ton of work on the plane and on board and in design and on all sorts of other stuff. So every time the question is, how is this evident of British originality? And by the way, that yardstick means every bit of work has to attempt to be original.
And they get involved in all of that as well. There's not some in-house video team producing
No,
this?
they have a
This is
great
you guys.
in-house studio,
Right.
but we are like in lockstep with those guys. And, you know, we've been lucky enough to be allowed into that process to add as much value as we possibly can, you know, and we'll continue to do that. You know, everything from the Christmas experience in T5 through to all sorts of other stuff. So that's been a real joy. You know, it's like there's a load of work there, not for now, but...
the full consumer experience, where
100%.
all the different touch points for a
100%,
consumer.
yeah.
are-
That is Callum's biggest mission: is how do we help them bring a British original across the experience, and that's with partners, ourselves, with the different parts of British Airways, and that's why we sat up recently at a British Airways meeting when each and every one of you has the potential to have good a job as we do here. The interaction, the moment they have you at the check-in desk, or getting a bag off the thing, or your app experience is everything.
What does it mean for wine? What does it mean for the car? What does it mean for like check-in? Like it's great in that sense.
But also it's beautiful because you can use it as a British, like you can tell who you would need in a film because you go, that person is a British original, that person isn't. Like it's really easy to work as a creative.
That's why I like the
As your
safety video. The
casting,
safety video
because-
for me is I watched
Well,
it
it's
a
across
lot.
everything.
I've
Yeah.
seen it so many times. But
Sorry.
no, but I love it every time I see something new because I'm thinking like it's just a, they want your attention. You get it from that video. It's just it's not like the safety videos.
We're going to sort of end. We're coming to the end now, and we want to talk about the Windows campaign, which has just triumphed this year at Cannes, and we thought it would have got a Grand Prix as well, but let's not get into that. It's beautiful work. But again,
we talked about it. They only that very briefly.
I'm not going to say a single thing.
So, I mean, just speaking personally, I remember seeing this and I sort of was again blown away again, thinking that can't be, but it is. It's a shot of the fuselage of someone looking out in a sort of dreamy state. So I wanted to just ask how you got to this, and I'm going to point that towards Ellie and Elisa, who haven't spoken much yet because it's more your thing, and Benny as well. If you want to just tell us, well, how did you, because you would have obviously been aware of the whole campaign, but so how did we get to this? Because this is great as well.
I think the first sketch was actually Benny's.
Oh, so there was a sketch, you were
There was a
saying?
sketch of like a baby's head, I think.
There was a brief floating around, which was make a British original sort of come to life, essentially, like breathe meaning into that.
Yes.
And we got to a line really quickly, was everywhere you go makes you everything you are, which was a line that was sort of floating around. It became an end of a TV ad.
Yeah.
And we kept going, how can we sort of bottle that, capture that, create an image that sort of sums that up? And I kept looking on my phone, and I think every phone in the world has probably got thousands of shots looking out of plane windows.
Right.
And I think there's a reason you do that. It's a reason because it's like looking out of a plane is probably the most magical, most emotional, most potential-filled image that you capture. So we just really simply went, what if instead of showing what every other company does, which is the destination, we just spin our camera and photograph the person looking at where they're about to land or looking down on the world at the most sort of beautiful, most sort of potential-filled image.
Yeah.
And so we just captured that. It was that simple. And so we literally, I had a drawing, little pen drawing about 5 centimetres by 10 centimetres that I'll find. And we just went, what if we just photographed different faces looking down on the world from 33,000 feet? And then we drew it with cutting this sort of heavy crop on the British Airways serifs.
Yeah.
Because we loved the idea of going, look, if you're confident, if you're the best airline in the world,
Yeah.
If you're
just show us.
internationally recognised, you've got
Exactly,
all
like,
of the
we all
visual
know that
language from
we see them go above our heads every day, and you
Yeah.
know exactly what plane that is. So we didn't need to show any more than that.
Wow.
And again, it's just that thing: if you're an icon, you behave like an icon, and that's why we
And what,
crop so heavy.
did anyone attempt to put anything on it?
Are you going to talk about dabs of shit again?
So I showed it to Nils in the first review. We both sort of knew it was good, and then we sat with a retoucher. And over the weekend, we literally pretty much retouched 3 or 4 to this standard. They were close to this. And then presented them first time in the meeting as almost finished retouched images.
Wow.
And then we spent 9 months tweaking,
Refining.
moving,
Exactly.
refining.
I just
bringing a bit more
remember, I
red.
remember the WhatsApp.
Holding the line.
Ellie and Elisa and Benny became like a. It was weird. It got geeky. It was like a retouch, comments board on the WhatsApp. But the first one you guys did was like, I'm not being funny, it was really close, like brilliantly close. And I just remember thinking, Jesus, this is nuts, you know. And again, it was one of those ones you're just like,
Here you go. Just showing the original pen drawing as referred to.
We'll put this on the feed, so it's there.
yeah, maybe crop it.
Yeah, we'll crop that down.
The crop was so important as well, because if you didn't crop it, you would just look at the letters. You wouldn't look at the emotion of whoever's in the window. So it was just about getting that right amount of letter there.
But also, like, just the detail of, like, if you go slightly higher on that B, you don't know it's a B, and then you don't know who the brand is. Or if you lose the red, then suddenly...
Yeah.
And, like, that balance of, like, how much do we need to show and how much do we want to show? Like, we honestly just spent hours zooming slightly in on Bs.
Again, it's sort of like, it's such a gift, because it's like, on a billboard, it is like people are coming from the billboard looking out to you. That's one level, like a local level. And then you have that thing of what they're doing. You know, it just works so well. And it's so disarming when you see something without a logo or a headline, because you're treated like that all the time. I remember I saw that, was it the Steve McQueen stuff, the classroom? Yeah, and I was all on the platform and I was like, ad. And then I saw a bunch of kids and nothing else going, right, what's the, you know, and you just drawn, yeah. And that's what this does. And you go, it's got all the elements, isn't it? It's got the client, you know.
It puts me back to the first piece where we were talking about the everyone flying for unique reasons. And for me, this is, again, I have to fly quite a lot for work, and there's waking up in different cities, and the guy lifting his the eye mask for me is, that's where am I now? Where are we? That I like the idea of that, flipping the camera back onto the user and getting the individual user stories, because on an image like this, you can put yourself in that user position. Where are we? What are we looking at? What are we seeing? And that's where the emotion comes from, and it goes back to the British original, and it goes back to everyone flying for a unique reason, and I think that's why it fits perfectly as part of the campaign, and it should have won a Grand Prix. I'm just going to say it. This is last year's best work in outdoor. Yeah. This is an outdoor Grand Prix winner.
That's very kind. Thank you, man.
Yeah, I said it to you when I saw you in town.
Yeah, it was on our list, and we were all going, what?
It was on the list for a reason.
Because then also we just sat outside there without diverting it all. But you go, okay, happy to lose to something brilliant, and I'll just leave it there because I'm not sure what one was brilliant. Anyway, so let's not go too far into that.
I'll tell you what.
There was.
Go on now, please, Benny.
No, the other things with that, I think with the media team, we booked media that was high. There were like lots of little cheats we could do just to make sure.
Well, I was going to say that, like, my favourite one was the one that moved. I was like, oh shit! And I honestly, looking back, actually, I don't know if we made enough of that in how we celebrated the work, frankly, and in the schedule, but. You know, when you're sat there and the baby's looking out and he's looking around.
Yeah,
and
I didn't spot that. I saw it on the website.
Yeah, well, that was it, man. I was like, oh, that's the bit. I honestly wish we'd rinse that a bit more, because some of it was really, really clever. Some of it was really contextual. And actually, as Benny says, when you see it massive somewhere, you're like, oh, that's crazy. It really hit.
I was judging Creative Circle Goals, and we were talking about this a lot. And me and Joe Moore were sort of waxing lyrical, and she said, it's a very sweet thing. She said she was somewhere like some train station or somewhere like very British, and this whole family walks up to it and just stood up and just looked at it for ages.
I wish I'd got that shot. I wish I'd got that shot.
You know, we were sort of debating whether they felt like they wanted to be there or they were happy to be there. But it was like, you know, it's stuff that stops you, right? Stops you.
But can we have a conversation there a little bit about... it went mad and people started going crazy about it. And I think that's partly because of BA, which, by the way, is a pressure we love.
Yeah.
But the thing to say, isn't it funny how you make a bit of communication with less on it? You don't decode it for people, you leave it up to people, and it doesn't just, you know, slightly provoke people, it creates what it created. You know, and that was what just shocked me. I was like, wow.
Not just in the creative community.
No, man, I just mean in general, that there's a spirit where people are so used to now being spoon-fed, you know, dispassionately crappy messages, that you don't do that, and it's borderline provocative.
Yeah.
How can it be provocative?
Yeah.
And I just think that's a really interesting conversation. So we've got to this thing which is like just less now.
Yeah.
You know. Well, the other thing on that jury was, it was so weird. There was this, and there was McDonald's with the drip.
Oh yeah.
And there was another brand, I can't remember what it was, but we were going, oh my God, like there's these big, massive brands that just behave so confidently, and if they get it right, you're just going, yeah, it's beautiful.
I think on that, it's weird when we were working with so few elements. But then it was like, okay, every lens flare has to be every lens flare has to be directional, so it feels like you're moving forward. Every skyline that runs through the elements of the bee is different on every artwork. So one's landing at mountains, you get into a beautiful place where you're just tweaking and changing
stories
that like glue together in each of these elements. Basically.
But to your previous thing, someone kicked off and tagged me on LinkedIn and said, "Oh, this is nonsense. Only a brand with really distinctive assets could do it." And I was like, "Well, yeah, yeah, that's fucking right. That's fine. How many of those have you got? Like, I mean, honestly, what are you having a go at me for doing that? Like, yeah."
Then you have the flip after the question were the aeroplanes in flight when the ads were shot or taken from the ground? just
But then when people are talking about your brand, it's just...
Oh, mate, it was great. It was great.
I think we might have to stop in a minute. I was going to... One thing I wanted... I think Dan and Nils, you know this, but I just found this quote. Cannes jury president Xavier Pompiano said in the context of a lot of industry conversation about AI, one of the things that I liked about the BA campaign was that only a human can write that. So we're talking about the first campaign here, and I just felt that was a brilliant observation. And I think it's a really good forward-facing thing to consider, that AI is helpful on certain levels, but I think, writing like that is not hopefully going to be left in the hands of AI.
Well, Midjourney's not going to mock that up either, because the person would have 6 fingers as well. So there you go.
6 fingers and 2
and a full logo.
But I know we're talking about this a bit now, but I thought just going back to the original, I thought that was a nice note.
That's great.
Yeah.
It's interesting. I like to use AI as a guide of what not to write.
Sometimes. I heard that the other day.
Like, I'll put in a prompt and I'll see what it comes back with, and you're like, okay, well, not that.
I'm not writing that down, yeah.
I think it can be a really helpful tool, but yeah, it doesn't, not yet at least, capture those emotions.
I got poked into talking about it, and, ironic, AI is not going to fall off a bike and smash its eye up. It's not going to. It's not. Sorry about that. It's not, but it's not, and it's not going to suffer a devastating heartbreak or the loss of a partner. It's not going to go through cancer, and it's not going to, get divorced, and it's not going to do that stuff. It's just not. So while that's a competitive advantage, if you can call it that, that's why writing will always be writing.
With emotion, with art direction, with
It's just chasing feeling. Like, you've got to feel it, and I just don't think AI is ever going to get us there. Basically, that's what's so beautiful. It's like you can't. Something happens when you see an image or you read Nick's words.
Well, that's the nice thing about these two pieces of work side by side, right? They're identical. They're exactly the same thing, just one's with no images and one's with absolutely no words. Which is what Nils says we don't have a house style. I mean, it's exactly the same thought, rendered simply both times, obviously.
Can I also say that I think, right or wrong, like our industry is addicted to worrying about things that don't help ourselves. Why are we all talking about AI? It's not the problem. It's like talking about, I know it sounds awful, but that's like, there's 1,000 other things right in front of you that can make your life, your company, your work better.
It's because it's a threat. That's why we're talking about it, right?
But there's a bigger threat, which is, the bigger threat is dependency on average clients. The bigger threat is making low-cost content for money. The bigger threat is relying on, clever words like integration and synergy to fuel your business instead of just brilliant work.
And dabs of shit.
And dabs of shit. That too.
Well, I think we should.
Bye.
I'm not. Going back to the magical human, wonderful stuff. You don't get that without working at a brilliant place. So this really is a homage to you and your crew. So thank you,
congratulations,
all of you for coming in and saying
thank
this.
You.
Thank you for coming in too.
That's really, really kind, guys. Thank you
really
very, very much.
And we look forward to the next iteration.
God. By the way, if there was ever a human that was more like AI, it's Nick Stanley. I just want to put that on the record.
Thanks very much. Thanks again for having us.
Good luck with that.